So I'm here with Alex, a master, a Make Music Life Mastery member, who sent me a very nice message, but was asking a number of questions about how I do what I do, as if like there's some kind of, I do superhuman amounts of stuff, and funnily enough, I actually don't do superhuman amounts of stuff. I just do the same amount as everyone else. There's a lot of things I don't do. So I thought this would be a valuable conversation to have for everyone, and instead of just me talking about myself, which is maybe of curiosity value, but I think it's only of limited value, we're going to frame this conversation in terms of the problem that actually Alex is trying to solve. Because obviously you sent that email and asked those questions because you have a problem to solve. Yes. So I'll kind of coach you through it, and through that, through doing that, I'm sure I'll talk about some of the things that I have done or do. But the thing is about coaching, and what makes it different from teaching or mentoring or consulting, is that pure coaching, there's none of the coach involved. It's other than the coach asking questions, and it's all about you, the person who's being helped. And that's different from teaching, where you're teaching something that somebody knows. You as a teacher, you're teaching what you know, and it's different from mentoring, where you're getting somebody to do something based upon your experience. With pure, and I do all three, of course, but coaching's kind of my favorite because, and it's where I start, because there really you're actually just drawing on what the client situation is, or the client's a bit of a weird word sometimes, but yeah, what the person's situation is, what their skills are, what options they have, and actually what they want to do. Because there's all of that constellation of things are going to be very different for every single person, which is why it's so powerful. So, hello, Alex. I was just giving a massively long introduction without saying hello. So you sent. I mean, why don't you start by, because there was a few questions that you asked. So just say what those questions were first of all, and then I'll ask you a few questions about those questions rather than answering them just straight up.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the first question was, any insights on how to manage your schedule and take actions on the thing you do? So that was number one. Number two was a little bit more specific as to methods, and asking you about modular sequencers or creating band members, managing the chaos. And then the third one was more so about how you came about developing your programs and refining them over time, and that stuff of that nature, like more of the business side and finding the right audience and learning how to teach, which is a crazy skill I'm starting to learn.
Yes. No. Well, I mean, they're all of those things are linked in a sense, because there is an overarching approach that I tend to take with everything. But so with all of those, so interestingly, that they are kind of the same question in a sense. I know they don't seem like they are, but that's one of the things that coaching or being coached teaches you, is that often all of these different problems are different versions of the same one, because we tend to do everything in a particular way. And often, I mean, lawyers tend to do things, I'm not saying all lawyers are the same, or all doctors are the same, but the way they view problems and the way they solve problems ends up being very similar. According to the kind of lawyering they do, or the kind of doctoring they do, or whatever it is you do in your day job, often ends up being the way that you do most things. It's just the way that it goes, which is why my wife is always getting cross with me for answering all of her questions with a question, because I coach. Stop coaching me. So anyway, in the name of answering a question with a question.
Speaking of that.
So what is the if you could like identify an overarching problem that you're trying to solve with asking me these questions, what would you say it is?
Yeah, if I had to pin it down, it would probably be a combination of overwhelm and shiny object syndrome. and getting overwhelmed with possibilities, and then perhaps those possibilities rendering me analysis paralysis, or overthinking things too much. Probably that as an overarching theme.
Okay, cool. So let's take a musical example, because I think the same is true of because you are starting, or I don't know how far down the track you are, but you have aspirations, or you are building a coaching business, a music coaching business. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's in the process, up and running.
Right. Okay. Cool. And so that's. It's very, very similar, the kind of things that you end up kind of running into. There's shiny object syndrome, there's overwhelmed with millions of things to do, lots of things to learn and everything. But let's take the modular question, because that might be more, because of the content of it, might be more relevant to more people who'd be watching this. But it'll be it's the same ideas, same process, same way, same approach. So you can apply it to anything. And just as an aside, if I was to answer the question, how do you do all of these different things? One of the overarching ways I do it is by figuring out what an overarching approach could be, which is applicable to many different situations. And obviously there are differences, and actually being aware of how you do what you do. So it's like thinking about your thinking. It's thinking about the process without the content. Yeah. So yes. It's like, how am I actually doing this? Not how am I doing, like I've got the Moogs in front of me, so I'm touching the knobs, just in case you're wondering. How am I actually doing this? But it's how am I thinking about doing this? What is the approach I'm taking in doing this? Yeah. And what decisions am I making, and why am I making those decisions? And how do I decide what decisions to make? Yep. So it's a level above the doing of the thing. I think there are very few people in the world who actually think about that, but that's the majority of my time. That's where I'm focused. So on that note, what's the, sort of catch us up on where you're at and why you're thinking about the modular question. And by the way, I wouldn't say that I'm a modular guy. I've just got these Moogs that happen to have some holes to plug things into. so I don't know much. I don't know much about a modular. I mean, I haven't bought any other modular units at all. So it's just 3 semi-modular synths I've got here. But it's like that's it. So I'm no expert at that. But I think the problem would be the same whether you were like Colin Benders with a whole wall of modular stuff. Well, it's a more complicated problem, but it's a similar problem. So what is it that's causing you to want to do that? Want to go down that route?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you'll get plenty of insights drawn out of whatever question. And there's actually just one thing I want to point out real quick is, as you just started describing that, I just realized that what we're learning in mastery here with getting methods and free writing after approaches is like, there's a lot of that approach that I could probably transmit to my day to day. And it just dawned on me now. So, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazing. So
I think wins, problems, options. I mean, that could be literally anything, and in fact, it is. So yeah. So
that's amazing. All right, well, that's great. So for the more grounded sequencer, why I'm thinking this way is my background with music is I'm a guitarist. I've played instruments. I got into recording before I got into producing, so to speak. I was just recording guitar ideas and stuff, and I play in a band. And usually there's some amount of give and take, two heads in a creative space. And also there seems to be a lot of, I don't know what it's called, like either pre-orchestration or working out a really cool part or really cool riff, which is really deep as part of my musical vocabulary and how to express myself. And I've managed to fit that in the automatic music machine. But in the context of these multi-splurges and getting a setup, I just feel like as I'm creating a loop, it feels too repetitive almost. There's not enough variation that it seems to make the process a little stale. And I get often stuck where I grow something, I dig it, and then I start thinking too much, and I'm like, okay, well, I might start a different splurge. So I was thinking that's what led me to thinking maybe I should have a few elements that I can tweak ahead of time. I've been playing with this plugin called Scalar, which I find a couple chords and maybe perform a part to have a loop that I didn't create to start an idea instead of creating the loops in the first place. But it made me think that maybe having something with some variation that I could like turn on and off in the middle of the splurge, just turn on a couple tracks that are creating stuff for some chaos factor. So that's kind of where my thinking was in terms of that.
Yeah. So did you see one of these, the coaching session I did with Joni? Have you?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
that's what gave me the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So that's definitely something to take note of, because really, it's I mean, okay. So when you're playing with another person, when you're making music with another person, it's much more of I mean, in a band anyway, it's much more of a dynamic it is a dynamic process, literally. It happens in real time, and yeah, you learn parts, but you don't know exactly what the other person's going to do. You don't know how that, and often they'll do something which inspires you, and then that goes back to them, and so it's like a to and fro. And one of the things about there's two elements to it. There's the assembly of music when you're producing music, for instance, in a DAW, but then also there's the how static that is. And assembling pieces of music, I mean, is inherently static in itself, but it's a slightly different matter, because you can actually make collaborate with somebody else and it be a static process too. Well, I've done a lot of that. Right. So, and the real distinction, because everyone goes on about hardware, or they go on about modular, or they go on about doorless, all of that kind of stuff. But the real distinction that I think kind of holds most of the juice, the thing that you really need to understand, is the difference between static music making and dynamic music making. And everybody's process can be a combination of those things. It's not that one's better than the other. It's just they require different things. And when you're a solo music maker with a 100% static process, that is I think the hardest way to make music by a long, long way, even if you're not a player, right? Because it's a it's a psychological rabbit hole of epic proportions. It's like it is tailor-made to cause you to overthink and go down, cul-de-sacs. And this is kind of a revelation for me that I've only really had in the last 6 months, is that since doing Zentor properly, which is one of the reasons why I did it, was that I've spent my entire life, well, not my entire life, but a lot of my music career life swimming upstream by having essentially a static process, a static solo process, two things which are gonna make it harder. So that's why people want to use hardware, and why people tend to want to use modular, and why people want to go doorless, is because they think it's the fact that it's hardware, or they think the fact that it's physical. But that's not actually, I mean, there is that does have an impact, but that's not it. What it is it's that distinction between static and dynamic, because you can be incredibly static with hardware, right?
Yeah.
And you can be incredibly dynamic in a DAW. So it's like that's where it is. Now, what's interesting about that distinction and the importance of that distinction is that neither I'm not. One of the things that is psychologically difficult in making music, well, in fact, doing anything, is the overwhelm, is the shiny object syndrome, is the more and more options. When things get hard, just trying to do something else. Now, that's true in a DAW, and it's true in hardware. The good thing about hardware is it's expensive, which means it's less easy to do that. So then people start to think, oh, well, hardware is much better because it's more limited. It's not, it's just that it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And the problem with that is if you're not careful, you just end up spending more money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what you got to do, what you got to make sure of when you're entering into it, when you're making these decisions, is that you know why you're making them, what the outcomes might be, and that you don't just end up having exactly the same problems and spending 10 times, 100 times the money. Right, which is what I think a lot of people who go doorless or just do hardware end up doing. Right. So that I gave, again, it was a long speech that I just gave you, but the reason I did that is that I don't want you to end up just end up in the same situation and spending loads and loads of money.
Yeah, I hear you.
So if I was to ask you, like, I mean, what was it about making music with somebody else that you really enjoyed? Because like if you put a frame around it, that what you're trying to do is make the machines like band members. Yeah, I mean, that's why I use this metaphor. It's like you're literally it's like, how do I make the machines feel like they're responding to me and I'm responding to them? And it's like, I don't know what it is that's going to happen. How do I do that? I mean, I might not say this to somebody who hadn't been a player, who hadn't been in bands, but for you, I think it's absolutely, the center of the bullseye. So how would you actually do that? Let's just not even talk about hardware. How would you do that with software?
Absolutely. Yeah. The first, what I've tried is, because the most valuable part of jamming is almost the unpredictable nature. Like, let's say you're just riffing something and your drummer plays a groove and you're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. And then you get all these other ideas. So it's that unpredictability, right? It's the fact that you didn't come up with it. So I was trying to find ways to get sequencers that are built into Ableton setup with like LFOs. And then I could just like turn that on and off with one button to hopefully just get something that generates, and hopefully that would inspire me to just keep going with the vibe. So that was the main approach that I took for that. The other flip side of this is like the orchestration versus the static and the dynamic process, like you said. And when I went through the automatic music machine and the mastering, the multi-splurges, it's really opened up myself to just flow out a ton of ideas and then curate the gems that I like, and then orchestrate stuff on top of that. And that combination is money. But I'm wondering how I can bring that into the picture of doing a multi-splurge and or expanding this into performing live, like creating music, but performing it live. I don't really have time to work out a riff.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things, again, so this is an overarching concept. If you don't have time to work, if you can't do something in a particular situation, then the solution is often just to do something else that's easier and simpler, that you can do, that has a similar result. I mean, that's true of business, that's true of time management, that's true of music making. And what I notice people doing is that they wait to take action by learning how to do the thing that they can't do. Right? So this is the whole thing about strengths. Is like, what can you already do? Right? So if you were to so I was to say to you, right, tomorrow, I want you to go, I'm not actually saying this, but tomorrow, I want you to go live tomorrow on YouTube, right? And you actually have to make a piece of music. It's not like, you're not practicing. So this is actually a performance. What would you do? What would the setup be that would result in the, when I say highest quality music, I don't mean the music would necessarily be incredibly high quality, the highest quality music that you could do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would that be?
I would probably do a multi-splurge on a multi-splurge that's already been done. So something that's
no, you're not allowed to do
already.
No, you're not allowed.
Okay.
No, so it's got to be from blank. There's nothing. Literally. So, and it has to be something. So it has to be. There's nothing there, and you're playing for, let's say, 15 minutes. And what would it be? And you don't there's no rules aside from you have to do it. It's 15 minutes and it's blank. So, it could be one instrument, it could be, but what we're looking for is the highest quality that you could do. The setup that would give you the chances of the highest quality result. And yes, I am asking you about the quality of the result.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Well, I feel like a lot of what I have set up already would get me quite a bit of the ways there. I have like the 4 band members with some macro stuff for some effects, for some variation. I'd probably be conscious to maybe start off on the guitar and really try to take my time in developing parts and not rushing too quick. Really take the time to listen. So maybe more so like refining really specific methods, like really have the methods front and center right beside me, and then have my players ready, have my guitar ready, and then frequently look at that to keep me on track.
Right. So what's interesting is you haven't actually said the number one thing that, right. So the number one thing that you can do to do more is to do less. Right.
Right.
So it's like focus on less. So if you, for instance, it was just you and a looper and the guitar, right? I'm willing to bet that given your background and what you've done, that would actually have the highest chance of, I mean, you might not want to do it for the rest of your life. That's fine. But the question I asked you was for the highest quality result. Because a guitar with a looper isn't lower quality than a symphony orchestra. Is it?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Jaco Pastorius on the bass, one of the greatest, used to fill stadiums with just him and a looper on his electric bass. Right? And so it is interesting that the kind of first answer, and this is the first answer I always go to whenever I'm trying to figure out something I can't do, doesn't matter where it is, in business, in life, in everything, is like, what is the single thing that will be the thing that will mean that I will do it well? What is the core?
Yeah,
right.
Getting my guitar.
Right.
Pedals.
right, there you go. Again, it's not the end result. That's not what you're looking to do in the end result. I mean, if you look on my Zentor channel, when it started, it was just me playing piano, solo, for like nearly 100 days or something. Right? Because it was just something to start. Yeah. Now, obviously, in the mastery program, I didn't get you to choose one instrument. I mean, if I had, for one thing, Max would be complaining like nobody's business because he's still complaining about the 3. But anyway, yeah. But it's like I didn't get you to choose one instrument. But really, if you're looking to build a live situation or a live situation, or make your music making more dynamic, then start with the thing that you can already do well and build from there. So that's the core. Yeah. So I started with the piano, and then I added these things over here, and that is basically how you do everything. That's an overarching umbrella way of doing everything. Play
to your strengths. Yeah, it seems, well, it's revealed to me that I seem to like to overcomplicate things, because even when you said pick one thing, I told you like 3-4 things. So and I realized this, and I'm like, whoa, that's like automatic behavior. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Simplify it and see how far I can dude, now I already have a million ideas of how I can use guitar and a delay pedal and a looper to make a pad, to make a progression, to like make a beat, rhythmic stuff, all that kind of cool stuff.
Exactly. Wow. Exactly. So if, if the core of it is that, then I mean, there isn't really. I mean, have you heard Beardy Man? Have you seen him? Yeah. So yeah, it's just his voice. That's all he uses, and it sounds like finished music, you know. And obviously, his setup is incredibly elaborate and complicated. It wasn't like that from the beginning, though. He just started with his voice, and I don't know whether he started with an RC505, but he certainly had one at some point. You know, the Boss looper thing. And but now it's like insane what he can do. But he just started with this voice, and that's how you attain mastery, is by starting with something that you can already do. And I do wonder sometimes with those who don't do that, whether they do actually want to do it. And I'm not suggesting this is you, by the way, Alex. Whether they do actually want to do it, whether they just want to pretend at doing it and just buy stuff and just be into something rather than actually doing it. Yeah, because it's like there's not, oh no, but I want to do, oh no, now I want to do that, now I want to do this, no, and it's like, yeah, but if you want to do anything, you're going to have to just decide on something. Yeah, and of course, for some people, it doesn't mean starting with one thing always, but almost simplifying beyond what you think is possible. I mean, I don't know that many people who go live every single day on YouTube playing music with just 3 synths. I mean, in a sense, there is just one synth. I mean, one of them's a hat. So, yeah, so like two synths and then just playing, you know, a piano and a thing over top. And I'm not saying that means I'm amazing or anything, but it just shows you how it's just like the music production industrial complex has us going down like all kinds of paths. And of course, people can make great music with lots and lots of gear, and I'm not saying they can't. But I just sometimes wonder what they would do if they didn't do that. Yeah, because limitations make you more creative. So there's that. Now let's apply it to the business side of things briefly. So, what are the various? I mean, if we were to apply the same kind of thinking to what you're doing in your business, I mean, why don't you just give us an idea of where you're at with the coaching business and what you're doing?
Absolutely, yeah. I have an online program I've created aimed at beginners, so people who are totally green at music production, don't know the DAW, don't know the software, might not even know music theory, any of that. And whether they're already musicians or like just I've always wanted to do it and never done it, that's my target market. I have a course in the back end, and I'm just constantly doing outreach and creating content to offer the freebie that eventually offers the course if it's a good fit for the people. So that's the
cool. And so
the business model.
Right, brilliant. And so what's the course called?
It's called Music Creator Academy.
Music Creator Academy. Okay, cool. And where when you say the outreach, what does that look like? What are you doing at the moment?
Right now I'm doing weekly YouTube videos, which has the CTA. And
Mm-hmm.
then I've
CTA means call to action for anyone who isn't aware, by the way. Yeah, so
yes, yeah, just random acronyms.
The marketing lingo thing. But I think what it is about, particularly media buyers, people who do advertising, they love 3-letter acronyms, TLAs. They just can't get. It's like, oh, the CPL of the XYZ is anyway. Yeah. So you do a weekly YouTube video with a call to action.
Yes.
And what is the call to action?
Its call to action is to download the free 7-step framework to help you produce your music and get through the phases. So it's basically a condensed version of one of the modules in the course. Okay, awesome. And I've effectively also have transformed my Facebook profile into kind of a funnel where I have a Facebook group, and I'm just posting in there. I'm outreaching to people, involving myself in like posting in Facebook groups and seeing if I can be of value, and then outreaching with people. And if it makes sense, I invite them to join the group. And yeah, that's the other lead generator.
Okay, cool. And so what are the various shiny objects that you're struggling to get, or that you're getting overwhelmed with? What are the various things that are, jumbling around in your mind? Think, oh, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do the other, or
yeah, too many. Like I want to start a podcast. I want to do more content, more YouTube content, maybe even write a book. which is insane. Uh, and like just turn up the outreach, like just do more of what I'm doing, right? And there's so many. How many ways can you make content? There's so many ways, and then there's different platforms, and then there's like outreaching to people and email, all this stuff. So all those kind of things, and also different directions for content, like what actual content I'm making. I'm making tutorials, but I could make guitar lessons. I could do this. I could talk about mindset stuff. Oh, like, so that's where my mind's at.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been there, Alex. Don't worry. I mean, like, in some ways, kind of, I am still there in a sense, but not in another. But anyway, so what do you love to do more than anything else in terms of the business side of things in the coaching?
I really love obviously talking about music production, theory, composition, more the creativity. I'm really into what inspires you, your influences, getting creative with like sounds or like a progression, a chord progression, whatever it may be. But I'm also huge into philosophy and psychology. I love talking about just the human experience and all the various things we interact with and how it relates to music and life and all that stuff. So that's a big part of my brand as well.
Cool.
I definitely want to focus on.
And is that so? But when I say, what do you love to do? Like specifically, do you really love making YouTube videos? Do you really love talking to people, like actual people? Even, I mean, through Zoom is actual people. So you know, face to face, a conversation. Do you love editing videos? Do you love writing? Do you like what is the thing that you're like, I could do this forever and not stop?
It's funny because I started writing blog posts and I found a voice with blog posts, but then I quickly, like, it became a chore. It just wasn't that fun. It wasn't enjoyable. And the YouTube videos are a chore. It's definitely, I have to get on myself to do it. It's a struggle of editing videos. You know what that's about. But I've recently hopped on a few calls with friends to just have like a mock podcast, and that was fun. That was just enjoyable because it's less pressure. You can really interact with somebody. Your personality comes out. So that form of content would probably be the most fun. The only thing about it is I probably have a little bit of opportunity cost for the YouTube because I've invested in a little bit of training in that direction. So I don't want to abandon it completely.
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily saying you need to abandon anything completely. And the other thing about YouTube, well, I'll come back to that. But so having conversations with friends about things you're interested in, right? If your marketing could be for your business could be that, then would that be something that you would find, you wouldn't find it hard to do? To actually motivate yourself to do it. All right. So the question you want to answer is, how do I make everything in my business as similar to that as possible? Right?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Because really, when you're a solopreneur, and it's going to be like that for a while, I would think. Really, it's hard. I mean, it's a slog. It's really it's hard. There's a lot that you have to do, and if you have to force yourself to do absolutely everything that you do, it's just way harder. Whereas if you can set it up so that you're doing things that give you energy rather than sap your energy, then it's a multiplier effect. You can see how that's a multiplier effect. So you'll notice that all of the new stuff that I'm now creating is live, right? Zentor streams, the course, the Make Music Life Mastery program is all live. Turbo Track Attack, live. I don't make I probably will make some videos on YouTube, but I don't make videos on YouTube at the moment, right? I mean, I do write emails. That's one thing I do. But the majority of things that I do are live. I am actually doing a podcast, but again, I just record myself after I do a Zentor live stream talking about what happened and stuff. So that's in a sense live, right? So that's because I realized that I'm I love life. I mean, Zentor is life. It's like everything is in that direction, because I've realized that it doesn't take my energy. It actually, it gives me energy. I get excited. I'm in the moment. I'm responding to an actual thing that's happening. And I mean, if I'd have learned that, I don't know, 10 years earlier, goodness knows where this business would be now. Because I literally have, again, I've been swimming. It's very similar to what I was saying about music production. Again, it's all the same thing, where there's static and there's dynamic. Now, there are some people who would want to do more static stuff, which is fine. It's not worse. It's not better. It's just different. But you want to know who you are and what you enjoy doing. And so it sounds to me like that you are wanting, both in your music and in your business, to make things more dynamic.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I don't really love editing.
I can't stand it either. So in terms of a podcast, you can do I mean, there's loads of podcasts on YouTube, right? So you can do a YouTube channel, conversations with friends about what you love, and then turn that into a podcast very easily, right? So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm doing a podcast. That means it needs to be recorded, and you know, and then I edit it, and then I have you don't need to do that. You can just literally start by recording some Zoom calls with friends, right? About things that you love.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, look what I'm doing right now. I mean,
this is awesome.
Yeah. So again, this is something that is hopefully of value to the Make Music Life Mastery members, because I'm helping people think through, you know, specific problems. But essentially, as far as I'm concerned, from my perspective, I'm doing what I would do. I love to do. Yeah, which is have conversations with people about their problems. So it's like I would do that anyway. Yeah. And I don't have to, I mean, you know, we started 40 minutes ago. I didn't have to motivate myself to do it, because I knew that we were doing it and I was looking forward to it. And we turned it on, we pressed record, we're talking. I'm not going to edit it. I mean, in Joni's thing, the camera fell. It's like, it's fine. It's a part of the fun. Yeah. And, you know, in Simon's thing, I paused it when his little beautiful toddler came and said hello. And so, you know, but you don't, it's like, just do the thing that you love to do, or figure out what the thing is that you love to do, because it's likely to be a strength. And then figure out how you can make your business, because this is one of the benefits of having your own business, or building your own business, is that you can make it in whatever, it can be whatever you want it to be. You do not need to do all of these things. Well, you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and you've got to post here, and you've got to do that. You don't. You just need a way of creating value for people, a way of getting it out to people, a way of them being able to actually connect with you, so that you have permission to interact with them, and then a way of consistently giving that value to people and bringing them back to you, and then a way of, you know, offering them things that they might want to, you know, go further with you in. Yeah, that's all you need. And so you don't have to do, oh no, I've got to do Instagram, and I've got to do YouTube, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to write a blog, and I've got to do a podcast. You don't have to do any of that. You just need to do the things that you love, and all of these tools and platforms are just ways of doing that. Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's crazy how many parallels there are from what you taught in the Automatic Music Machine and what you're just telling me now. Like, example for mastery, it's like, what are the things that I love? What are the things that make me excited to come out? Like, why is it so hard to figure out? Or well, like, even like,
it was good. Yeah, we're siloed. We're taught to silo ourselves. You know, oh, now I'm going to go to the maths, the maths classroom. You know, the maths department. Oh, now I'm going to go to double French, and you know, and now I'm going to history, and you know, it's just again, we've everything is so siloed, and this is, I think, the other thing. You could say that everything is one thing, right? Or that one thing are infinite things. Both of those frames on reality are true. Yeah, we're all part of the same thing, obviously. Everything in existence is part of the same thing, so it's one thing. Similarly, everything in existence is probably infinitely made up of smaller and smaller things. I think I said this to Simon. It's like, yeah, they think they've got to the smallest particle. I bet you there's something smaller. So it's like,
can't see it.
Yeah, and I think being able to almost forcing yourself at first to zoom in and out. And sometimes I just think that what success is about is the ability to chunk things differently. Yeah. And to say, okay, now I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna make the chunk smaller. Oh no, now I'm gonna make it bigger. So I'll give you an example. I was doing a project slam with the team today, and we did one a couple of days ago as well. And I was getting during this thing, because we kind of do work on something together. We're doing separate things. We're working on it. It's as if we're in the same office kind of thing, but we're in different countries. And so we all do this thing. We've got timers going and everything. And then there are questions, we can ask each other questions. And so in the one previously, I was getting really grumpy. And to be honest, I was being a bit of an ass. And I was just getting really grumpy. And then we all got confused about a system that we were trying to create. And we were talking past each other. And it all got very frustrating. And everyone was a bit, particularly me. And at this point, what I was doing in my Project Slam, the thing that I was doing was I was creating images for my live stream, my Zentor live stream, and coming up with titles by using keyword stuff, right? And so I was doing this, and then I had another slam yesterday where I was doing the same thing, and it was taking me ages, and I noticed I was getting grumpy again. So Luke was asking me a question. Luke, we were talking about something, and I was getting grumpy. I was like, right, what is going on here? That's happened twice, doing the same thing. So obviously, what I'm doing there's something wrong with what I'm doing. Well, for one thing, I'm not doing something that's in my zone of joy. It's like I kind of have to do it myself first in order to know what the process is so that I can pass it over to someone else. So that's something that I do. I figure out how to do it in the way I want it done and the way that I think is the best, well, not the best, a good way of doing it. And I do that over time. And so that then I can pass it on to someone else, right? With the things that aren't, I would never do that with making music, obviously, but with the things that aren't in my zone of genius. But and honestly, filling out spreadsheets with keywords research is not my zone of genius at all. I can't stand it, but it's something I have to do. What I realized I was doing was I was doing this, like I was making the image, then I was having to save the image. And saving the image meant finding a title. So then I was going to the keyword tool. Then I was going to putting the keyword in the show, and then I had to go back to the image, and it was just like this complete like. So the way I was chunking the task was that I was going start to finish. And bear in mind, this is the guy that created the automatic music machine. And I've been doing this over and over again, and it was sending me round a twist, and I was being an ass as a result. And I was being grumpy and frustrated. So in thinking about this, I was like, hang on a minute. What I need to do is I just need to do the keywords for the next 7. Yeah. Come up with the titles. Then I'm going to do the images. Then I'm going to, and boom, problem sorted. So again, it's chunking it differently. I zoomed out and looked at the entire process and then chunked it differently. So instead of being granular, I was more wide-ranging. So that's the other overarching skill that you want to drum into your head is chunking. It's like how big of a chunk am I thinking about this in, or how small of a chunk? And you can, no way is better. There are going to be other situations in which you want to zoom in as well. But I think that's the other way that I end up kind of figuring out, both for other people and also for myself, better ways of doing things. If I find myself getting really in the weeds in something on the synths or something, I'm all right, we stop, right, zoom out. What am I actually trying to do? What is the purpose of like twisting that knob? Yeah. Is there another way of doing it? Yeah, is there something zooming out? Is it, or in fact, what? And usually I'll find, well, actually, I don't even need to do it at all. I just got obsessed about, making something work, which isn't progress necessarily. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of insights through that. Like it's crazy because batching stuff, or even just the importance of maintaining the same frame of mind. Because like you said, when you're working on something, then you're going here, then you're going here, and how does this tool work? And just being like, I'm in the zone for this one thing, and then the next day I'm in this other zone for this other thing. That can be applied to so many things.
Yeah, but also in chunking, it's also, you said the next day, so it doesn't have to be the next day. So for instance, in that situation, it wasn't the next day, it was in one slam. I just did 7 titles, then I did 7 images, right? So it was but instead of going, keyword research, title, image, keyword research, title, image, instead of doing that, I just went keyword research and title. In fact, I did keyword research first, then title, 7 images, then make the images. So that, again, that's a different type of chunking. That's time chunking. Yeah, and fiddling around, playing around, like experimenting with how you chunk things, because it's not. Sometimes it would be great just to do a whole day, but the trouble is with a whole day, what I found is that you can just feel like you've got loads of time, so you don't end up doing anything. Yeah, so this isn't really time management. This is more self-management, which is figure out when you're best doing what. Yeah. Now, this doesn't always work. So for instance, with me, I'm in a weird time zone, obviously. So to be honest, I would be best off probably not doing all of my talking and coaching in the morning, because I'd probably be best off doing my own kind of deep thinking work at that time. But I just can't do that because that's when everyone else is awake. And I definitely can't work at night because, I'd be like caveman. So it doesn't always work that way. But within the constraints of your situation, what are the optimal times for you to be doing certain types of tasks? Yeah, and it's going to be different for you and your own situation. And set it up so that that's when you're doing those tasks. Yeah, taking those actions. That's the other kind of way of doing things. But and then the final one, and we'll end on this, but the final one is really, I mean, you've heard me say this before, I'm sure. Success is about what you say no to. I mean, any measure of success that I've got is literally been about what I don't do. I mean, of course, it's what I do as well. But I mean, there are so many things that I don't do that normal people do. And I mean, if you read the book, mastery book, you'll see the same is true of all of those masters, is that they've obviously not done a lot of things that normal people do. And I'm not saying I'm a master, but if I have any chance at attaining mastery, it's going to be by saying no to the majority of things that people do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, so I don't do gardening. I don't do DIY. I just won't do it. But no matter how much my wife, Sally, like long-suffering wife, Sally, she's given up now. So I just won't do it. I just will not do it. I do help with like kitchen and stuff like that. But I just there are certain things I just won't do. I'm like, no, it's just, I'm not going to do it. I hate it. I will make a mess of it because I hate it. And it's a waste of time. Let's just pay someone to do it much better than me who enjoys doing it. So we had some monkey bars for our kids and we've not been able to have them here in the new house because we've got loads of space outside. We have monkey bars. I am not going to put those things on, not because I don't love my kids, because I love my kids. And because I love my wife and I don't want to have a massive argument with her in us trying to do it. Let's just pay someone to do it. Right? Yeah. And he was brilliant at it. The kids are much safer. Trust me, it wouldn't be safe for me to do it. And I've saved an enormous amount of time. Yeah. So that's the other, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the final one, but that's the other big thing. It's like, what are you doing that you don't need to do? Yeah.
Absolutely. And focusing, like you said, on your zone of genius. Focus on the part that's the magic.
I mean, what do you say, Alex, just to finish this up, what would you say, Alex, that you do that you don't need to do?
There's probably tons that I don't need to do. Some of it I do enjoy doing. Like I do like gardening and stuff like that, but some stuff is like I could definitely go without doing those things, whether it's recreational stuff or whether it's like doing something because you want to do it or it's cheaper or whatever. There's a lot when I think about it that you probably not necessary. And do I really care to do it?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So the way that this is a very simple model for building a business, and the way I think about time and money. Okay, so you make money, a certain amount of money. Yeah. Now you put aside a certain portion of that money specifically for taking things off your plate that you don't need to do. So you pay somebody to do those things. Yeah. So a portion of the money you make is invested in paying somebody to do something you don't need to do. As I said, it could be putting up monkey bars. It could be whatever it is, gardening, whatever. Yeah. And it's not that these things are beneath me. That's not it at all. I don't look down on the guy who did the monkey bars. Right? It's like he enjoyed. It's like that's not it. It's that I don't want to do it. I'm not good at it. Yeah. So you put, and the same is true in the business. So I don't set up the funnels. I don't set up the landing pages anymore. I used to because I had to, because I didn't have any money. Right. But I don't do any of that because it's just not my zone of genius. Yeah. So you put aside a certain amount of that money that you make to pay somebody else to start doing things. That gives you more time. You make sure that at first it will be all of that time, but over time it becomes less of that time because you've got more resources. You then set aside a portion of that time or all of that time for making more money, like specifically making more money, not because you're greedy, but because you're trying to ascend this ladder. It's like a game. Yeah. So you then, I mean, this is the difficult bit. You've got to make sure in that time you're doing a high value thing. Yeah, because otherwise this game won't work. You'll lose the game. Yeah. So then you focus that extra time that you've got on making more money. So now you have more money. You then use some of that money to get more time. You then spend more of that time making more money. And so, there's no end to it. I mean, it can go on forever until you're, making $1 billion. I mean, not that, but you know what I mean? But essentially, that is the game. For anybody who wants to run their own or build their own business, whether it's a music business or any other kind of business. Yeah, I mean, I'm specifically talking about, what we call lifestyle businesses rather than, multi-billion-dollar corporations or anything like that. So that really is the game. That's the time, money, resource game. And that's how you want to think about it, because it's how it works. I mean, you can see how that would work, right? Eventually, you end up with lots of time, enough money coming in, doing the things that you love to do. I mean, can you imagine what a multiplier that is in so many different ways?
So many ways, like not only energetically because you're stoked and you're happy about everything, but now there's people in the positions doing the things that they're expert at.
Exactly.
Like they're actually good at it and they're taking care of it, and you're on a team. I can see that. And it's a precious resource the more I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. All right, Alex. Well, it was great. Hopefully it was helpful. I did more talking than I was hoping to do, but I guess you did ask me questions, and I suppose hopefully you got value anyway.
Absolute value. Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, good luck. Well, keep going with all of the music stuff, and I will look forward to seeing that looping guitar live stream soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm on it.
Cheers.